Alan is the taproom manager at Yazoo Brewing Company. To announce the start of tours, he yells for everyone to gather by calling them a certain name.
I call them the Yazooligans.
I know. Turns out there's actually a very small group of dedicated Yazoo drinkers that call themselves that too.
And I probably can't say this. They have a secret Facebook group that you only get invited if you're a loyal Yazooligan.
Wow, something to strive for. I'll work on it.
That's right.
I'd like to say thanks to Yazoo for supporting Neighbors. If you've never actually been to the brewery, you should go. You can find tour info at yazoobrew.com.
I said, Mom, I want you to do something for me. And she said, what? I said, I want you to handcuff me to the bottom of my aunt and uncle's swimming pool.
This is Spencer. I called him up in Brooklyn and he recorded himself on his iPad.
Okay, so yeah, we're rolling.
When he was 8, he would watch these TV specials. You may remember these things. They were magic specials. And in the 90s, they seemed to be on a lot. Spencer thought they were awesome, specifically the escape tricks, the really elaborate ones.
I'm going to perform this grand stunt, and I'd like to say goodbye to my family in case they never see me again. And then they would put them in a canvas sack, and they'd handcuff them, and they'd tie the sack shut, and then they'd put the sack in a coffin, and then they'd put the coffin underground, and then they'd bury him 20 feet deep, and they'd put a 1,000-pound metal sheet on top of the hole, and then they'd put an elephant on top of the sheet, just like totally over the top. And then you know in hindsight that probably he was getting help from somewhere or another. But at the time I thought it was real, and I was amazed by it.
So Spencer did what any young, aspiring escape artist would do.
I found this pair of handcuffs, probably at like a gift shop somewhere.
They looked real, but they had a secret latch. If you could find it, you could get out.
To me, they were real, though. I sort of just pretended like it was a real thing, and I was like escaping from everything.
He would ask his mom to handcuff him to chains, tie him up around the tree in the front of the house. While other kids were playing soccer, he was handcuffed to the bleachers.
My mom was a very good sport about it, but my stunts began to get a little bit out of hand, and I started to dream a little bit bigger. And I noticed that my aunt and uncle, they had a swimming pool we'd go to all the time. And at the bottom of the pool, there was the drain or the ventilation, whatever. This little grate at the very bottom of the pool, 10 feet deep. And so I had this dream that the ultimate escape would be for me to handcuff myself to the bottom of my aunt and uncle's pool. And she said no. And I said, why? Why not? Why won't you help me? And she said, because I don't want to be on the news.
I'm Jacob Lewis, and from Nashville Public Radio, you're listening to Neighbors, a show about what connects us. Today, we'll hear 3 stories, all about honoring someone's wish. We'll hear about a request someone made for what happens after they die. Another story about a wish to be left alone. But first, let's get back to Spencer and see about his wish to be a magician.
Seriously, I think I basically just would bother her for like days straight and just be like, Mom, please, can you do this? Can you like tie me to this thing? Like, I think that's how it was. So from her perspective, maybe she just had no choice. So I probably would have done the same thing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I have a friend who has like a 5 or 6 year old, and he's always wanting to do ridiculous things, but they're more like just publicly funny, not like dangerous, but he always wants to have like these themed parties, and he wants to invite adults all the time. So like superhero parties, who do you want to come? He's like, I want Jacob and Catherine, that's my wife, and a few other people. And so he's having like a Joker party because he really likes villains, and like have all these adults come and decorate a Joker tie and do these funny things. But I just think it's so funny that his mom is really good at.
She goes along with it.
Even though these things are ridiculous, it's like she finds the line where she can honor it. And I just think like for a parent, and like you have the story to think that your mom, at least a little bit, was like, yeah, Spencer, like, I see that desire in you, and I want to, make it happen for you, and at least in a safe way. And so how does that hit you?
Well, no, I've never really thought of it that way, but it's very touching when you put it that way. So maybe I will give my mother a call this afternoon and just say, Mom, thank you for helping me follow my dreams as a child, even though they were sometimes kind of strange.
Special thanks to Spencer and his sister, Mary Helen Montgomery, who is a radio producer in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Maybe someday we can finally convince your mom to tell her side of the story. Okay, so the other day I was talking to one of my editors, Mac, and he got really excited to tell me a story about a guy named Phil.
This is what your whole theme is about.
Honoring wishes?
Yeah. It's the ultimate wish-honoring story.
So to set this up, this guy, Phil Kaufman, lives in Nashville, but he goes by another name.
The Road Mangler?
What? The Road Mangler, as in a play on Road Manager. I reached out to Phil and we exchanged emails, but he didn't want to be interviewed. Not because he didn't want the story told, but because he's told it so freaking much. I mean, there was a movie made about it where Johnny Knoxville played Phil. But I think it's an important story because it really, really goes to the edges of what it means to honor somebody's wish. So here it goes. Phil Kaufman, a.k.a. the Road Mangler, managed a lot of legendary acts. He's been on the road with the Rolling Stones, Frank Zappa, Joe Cocker, but probably the most memorable was the rock country musician Gram Parsons.
In my hour of darkness, in my time of need.
In addition to working together, Phil and Gram were friends. Friends in that early 70s go and get high together in the desert sort of way. They had a real connection, and in July of 1973, one of their mutual friends died. A guy by the name of Clarence White. He played in the band The Byrds. And at his funeral, Phil and Gram made a pact. Whoever died first, the other one would take their body to Joshua Tree National Park, a place they both loved. They would have a few drinks and burn the body. And you've seen the Road Mangler around town?
Yeah, I've seen the Road Mangler. I've seen him eating at a Mexican restaurant.
So obviously no one has burned Phil's body, but the same can't be said for Gram Parsons. It was a cocktail of various drugs and alcohol that killed Gram in California. His body went to the Los Angeles International Airport. From there, it was supposed to be flown to Louisiana to be buried. But Gram's body never even made it onto the plane. That's because of the Road Mangler. Phil Kaufman and a friend rolled into the airport in a borrowed hearse with no license plate and a back full of Jack Daniels and beer. In jeans, boots, and a cowboy hat, Phil convinced an airport employee that Gram's family wanted the body chartered on a smaller plane. He signed some papers with a fake name and was given the casket. When they pulled up to a formation known as Cap Rock in Joshua Tree, it was dark. They dragged the coffin out of the hearse. Phil opened the lid and poured gasoline all over the body. Gram and Phil both had a wish about friendship, a wish about a place that was special to them, a wish about the right to deal with death. Gram didn't want a mopey, long religious service. He wanted his spirit to rise to the desert stars. Phil lit a match and threw it in.
What I think is really intense about the story is that, for one thing, Graham would never know the difference.
Right, that's true.
If Phil had not honored his wish, he would never know. And Phil had to put himself at risk. I mean, obviously things were probably different at airport security than they are now.
That's very true.
But he still had to like steal this body. I would be terrified and creeped out.
Something about the desert, though. I get that part.
There's something about it.
I get
Yeah.
It just makes sense to mention that Phil has a book where you can read all about his life on the road called Road Mangler Deluxe. All right, coming up after the break, a story about honoring distance.
So this is my daughter's favorite record. It's Lady and the Tramp, Walt Disney soundtrack.
This is Drew Holcomb, singer, songwriter, and founder of Magnolia Record Club, a curated vinyl subscription service. We're at his house taking a look through his personal record collection.
To me, what vinyl says in the digital age is, I care about music more than other people. So this month is our new live record, Live at the Ryman.
She was a good companion, eyes like the Grand Canyon. She was an American beauty.
Subscribe and get a new record shipped to your house every month. New subscribers get a free Magnolia Record Club t-shirt. And for being a listener of the finest program the Mid-South has to offer, you get 20% off your first box by visiting magnoliarecordclub.com and entering in the promo code NEIGHBORS. Let Magnolia curate your collection. Visit magnoliarecordclub.com, promo code NEIGHBORS. Okay, so this next story comes from America's neighbors to the north. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, or CBC, launched an awesome new podcast. May I present to you an excerpt from the CBC's podcast, Love Me.
My best friend is a woman I've never met. I mean, like, you have your high school best friend, you have your college best friend, I had a maid of honor at my wedding, but Kate is my functional best friend. She's the person I call when stuff goes wrong. She's the person I call if I need to vent, or I need to cry, or I just need somebody to listen to what's going on in my life. 4 years ago, we met in an online writing group. We both hated all the same stuff. At first, we talked by private message and email, and then one night I needed feedback on a piece, and she let me call her at 1 o'clock in the morning and read the story to her. And ever since, we've talked every day. Kate always picks up. She's always home. And this is because one of the first things she ever told me, she said she was circus freak fat. She's housebound. She lives in a house in Louisiana that she inherited from her parents. Both her parents were hoarders, so she lives surrounded by giant piles of stuff. And about 6 years ago, 2 years before we met, her health deteriorated and it got hard to walk, so she left her job at the power company, cashed out her retirement, and basically went home to die. She couldn't even take out her own garbage. Like, every so often she would order pizza. She could only eat food that delivered. And when the pizza guy came, he would take her trash can to the curb, and then the next time she ordered something off Amazon, the UPS delivery guy would bring the garbage can back up from the curb. Kate doesn't get out much, but I get out a lot. And Kate and I have this thing where everywhere I go, I call her from someplace interesting and I turn in a circle and I tell her everything I see. So I go to Alaska, to South Africa, to Nepal, and I was at Manokamana, this temple on a mountaintop in Nepal, and I call her up and turn a quarter turn, and I'm like, in front of me there's, all these offering tables covered with like red and gold fabric, and I turn a quarter turn and there's this pen full of black goats, and I hold up the phone so she can hear the temple bells. She tells me I'm her window on the world. As I'm learning what her daily life is like, as I'm learning stuff like she really missed fruit because nobody delivers fruit, it's the one thing Amazon doesn't sell, as I'm learning that, there's 6 buckets of fishing baubles in the carport, but she can't throw them away because she remembers tying fishing baubles with her dad when she was a little kid. I start thinking, well, maybe I can help with this, I'm reasonably able-bodied and I travel all over the world for my job and I go through the American South a lot, and I say, I have a week between Florida and Tennessee. Could I come take out some boxes for you? And she says, you're funny. I call her from Edmonton. She spends like a week listening to me whine and then helps me break up. I call her from Michigan and she helps me get divorced. I send her the manuscript of my novel and she reads all of it 3 times, 2.5 times more than my mom. One year in August, she said she was really hot. Her air conditioner had broken. And I said, I could come help with that. I probably wouldn't even have to come in the house. And she really kind of lost it. She's like, stop pushing. It will end our friendship if you come. She was afraid that if I saw her body, if I saw her house, if I saw her, that I wouldn't like her anymore, that I wouldn't be her friend anymore. And I think that as well as all the boxes, she just had this giant hoard of shame. We would have these conversations where she would say something like, I think I'll go to the door today. And it took like an hour because she would have to crawl there. And after, a few rounds of I'd like to come and help you, no, don't come, I finally was like, I have to do this. I have to go and help my friend. And I ended up in this little town in Arkansas that was less than an hour away from where Kate lived in Louisiana. And I thought, I am going to do this right. And, she'd had some trouble with deliveries going to the back door because the back door was inaccessible. And she would wait all day at the front door and then discover that they had left the delivery at the back door. And so I print out this handy little sign that says, take all deliveries to front. And I get my sign laminated and I buy some oranges and some apples and I buy bananas that are still green so that they will last. And I Google map her house and I pick up the phone to be like, ready or not, here I come. She picks up. She always picks up. And she says, hey, is everything okay? And I realize in that moment that the price of having Kate on the other end of the line is letting her stay at the other end of the line. That as long as we never meet, she can be the person who helps me instead of a person who needs help. I put the fruit in the fridge. I put the sign in the garbage. And I say, no reason, just called to say hi.
That was Allison Williams with a story that first appeared on CBC's Love Me. It was produced by Mira Burt-Wintonic and Crystal Duhame. For more stories like it, visit cbc.ca/loveme or subscribe in iTunes. Neighbors is from Nashville Public Radio and produced by me, Jacob Lewis, with production assistance from Bailey Robbins. This story was edited by Mac Linebaugh and Emily Siner. Some music in this episode is by Poddington Bear, and this song is by Dan Burns. Neighbors is a proud and founding member of The Herd. That's H-E-A-R-D. We're an audio collective of producers, and one of us makes a show called Rumble Strip Vermont. A recent episode is about a man with terminal cancer asking his best friend to help him die.
He had reached the point of diminishment, and he knew that he was ready to take the drink. And he was worried that at the end he wouldn't be able to. Either that he would be too diminished or that he would falter at the end. And that's when he looked at me and asked if I would be there with him. And my first reaction was, of course.
To learn more about Rumble Strip Vermont and all of the Herd shows, visit theherdradio.com. That's H-E-A-R-D. I'm Jacob Lewis, and I'm reminding you to get to know your neighbors.